Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today from Lexham Press, we have the Fount of Heaven. These are prayers from the early church. Here we are with the book right now, and it is actually quite beautifully done. They did reach out to me, and they said there was a printing problem on the cover because it is a little bit heavy. I've noticed that as I've handled it, it seems to already be kind of correcting itself, and it's not as bad as it was. So I actually think this is going to be self-correcting. One thing is you will notice little specks of gilding. That will come right off. So it's just a little something you'll have to work on, but this is also something they are correcting. So this is a hardback, and it is a green cloth over board. Of course, it has your gold foil stamping on the cover, and it has gold foil stamping on the spine. Now, one thing I do like is that they put it this way so that if you're a person that happens to like to lay your books flat like myself, you have that option and you can still read this upright. When you get into it, nice paper liner, looks to be reinforced, and this is a sewn binding, so I was really happy to see that. One thing I've always noticed with Lexham books is they kind of have like what appears to be this waxy kind of cover on the edges of their page. I don't know if that's designed to reflect dirt or something like that, but it does seem to do a really good job of being able to wipe it off if you were to get dirt on there, so that is a neat touch. It is edited by Robert Elmer, also called Bob Elmer on Facebook, and he wrote a really nice introductory section. So I'm going to show you kind of how it's laid out and what its function is. It says, "I will drink from your fountain and so live," and that is from Augustine. And Augustine was an early church father in the 300s into the 400s. Then when you get to the table of contents, this is really neat. It has a list of the prayers. So it has them broken down kind of into categories. The first set of prayers is help us to praise. Praise for your attributes, praise to the Father, praise to the Son, praise for your creation. And then each section lists the title of the prayers to let you know kind of what you're dealing with. And then once you get past the table of contents, which is lengthy and gives you several topics that are prayed, there were several that I thought were great. This one is my favorite. We lift up our leaders and teachers, so they're praying for pastors and church leaders. I thought that was really cool. We remember our congregation, prayers for the congregation and church as a whole. Different prayers for peace and guidance. It's actually really nice. But once you get past the table of contents, there's an introduction from the editor, and he talks about the fact that, hey, this is not scripture. We're not claiming this is scripture. In fact, some of these, the authorship is disputed, but we see this as a window into the early church. This is prayers from church leaders from late 30s AD into the 600s. So this is kind of a snapshot into the early church and how they prayed. The editor is very honest about what this is. He's saying this is not scripture. He is saying this is not inspired. It's just a way to kind of look through the window of the early church and see how they prayed. And it's actually very useful. So once he gets past his introduction, there's another neat little section that I think is important for you to see. And that is the list of authors. Now, obviously, these were written in either Latin or Greek, and they have been translated, and he's also updated them into readable modern English. But there's several interesting figures in here. First of all, you have the Didache, which is the first century writing called the Teaching that is believed to have been written by the apostles. You also have the Apostolic Constitutions. Now, this is featured heavily in this book. There are several entries from the Apostolic Constitutions. Your two most utilized early church figures are going to be Augustine and the Apostolic Constitutions, and then there's a lot of John Chrysostom sprinkled in there as well. So let's just take a look at a few little sections. So this is the prayers themselves, and then it breaks it down to sections. Help us to praise. Now this is a prayer from Clementine of Rome, and as it says right here, this prayer is widely regarded as the earliest recorded Christian prayer outside of the scriptures. So we're talking 30s AD and the 40s AD, super early on into the Christian church. We have prayers from a student of the Apostle Paul. It's going to heavily feature Augustine of Hippo. He's going to be in here a lot because he wrote a lot. And every time you get a new section, you're going to get this little introductory page with a nice little boxed out area to let you know what the topic is that this is being addressed. It's really organized beautifully. I have really enjoyed this volume. So once you get to the back, this is very important. If you want to read the prayers of a specific early church leader, then they have them in alphabetical order, and you can just read for the author, and then it shows you the pages where that prayer is listed. Ambrose of Milan is heavily featured as well. We have Apostolic Constitutions. You can see there's a big section there. Augustine of Hippo, you see there's a big section there, so these are featured a lot. And then there's a couple more. John Chrysostom, he is featured quite a bit. And then Ephraim the Syrian is featured quite a bit. But then you have some others that are just kind of here and there sprinkled out. Clement of Rome, not very much of his work because, of course, not a lot of it exists. We have Eusebius of Caesarea, all kinds of really key early figures. Now, one little thing I do want to say that's kind of a little bit of a warning, but not necessarily, is some of these early writings, like the Apostolic Constitutions, is considered Arian in nature in some of the later documents. Now, it does seem to be sourcing earlier documents that are non-Arian in nature, but still, this is an excellent resource. I am so glad to have it. If you follow my channel at all, you know that I'm always on a quest to find quotes, prayers, and writings from the earliest church leaders to really kind of help round out our faith and discover what the early church was like. So this is a great resource. It's available now at Lexham's website. I'll go ahead and put all that in the video description. Check it out. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholas Worth.